Welcome to part 6 of this video series. Today we're going to take a more detailed look into onboard plumbing. First, let me state the obvious, and that's the fact that plumbing on a boat is nothing like plumbing in an urban house, because 99% of boats are off-grid when it comes to water. Everything has to be done on board. Boat plumbing can be as simple as a camping-style water container to an elaborate electrically powered system with built-in water heating. Let's start with the absolute simplest, a camping water carrier and a collapsible sink. I don't believe anyone who is seriously looking at being a long-term liveaboard should ever consider this. This should fall under camping by boat, not living aboard. I'll do a future video series on boat camping. There are numerous reasons why not to do this for liveaboard. One of the biggest being weight distribution. You need to elevate the water container onto a counter or a table in order to get it to pour. This means either lifting this heavy container up each time you use it, or storing it high, which is bad for your boat's center of gravity. If you absolutely must do this, then choose a large bottled water with a portable pump on top of it. Okay, the next thing we need to discuss is where your water is coming from. There are basically two options here, either transport it or make it. The first option is the simplest, and that's to transport it either through a hose into a deck fitting or using a portable tank to refill your onboard tank. Most marinas have hoses for filling your tanks. Some places charge for it and some are free. I have been lots of marinas where the water wasn't potable at all or required you to filter it. When traveling to foreign marinas, I recommend always filtering your water. Even if they say it's potable, I've been to many marinas where they said their water was great, but it came out brown or with pretty little rainbows on it. Even if you use a hose to fill your tanks each time, it's always a good idea to have a collapsible water tank on board, just in case. If you do have to haul it, then try to find a portable tank with wheels. If you can't get one, then there's lots of little portable dollies to help. And remember, the filler hose should not be the garden variety type. They should be rated for potable water. Now, if you want to make your own water, you can either desalinate the water around you if you're on salt water, filter the water around you if you're on fresh water, or capture and filter the rainwater. First, we're going to look at desalination. Desalination, simply put, is using a lot of pressure to push salt water through a membrane that the salt molecules can't pass. To create this pressure, they use large amount of electricity. Although I have seen units that have a separate gas-powered pressure system. This is similar to a generator. They can be permanently installed or portable. I haven't seen too many salinators on small boats yet. They are expensive and require quite a bit of space, although they're now starting to become more economical and smaller. Luckily, they do provide enough water in a couple of hours for a few days' use. There are manual pump versions on the market, but these require a very large amount of pumping to produce very little water. These are great in emergency situations, but not for day-to-day living. One more thing I should mention is the membranes are one of the major costs, and they have to be replaced periodically. The next method we're going to look at is only for people who live on fresh water that isn't super polluted. So if you're in a harbor of a major city, I probably wouldn't recommend this, and that's using a filter to make your water. But if you're on a quiet river or lake, then go for it. These filters can be the camp type or built-in type. Just make sure it cleans all the bacteria, protozoa, cysts, and sediments. Ceramic filters are better than disposable filters for the simple reason they can be washed and reused. Look for filters with pores of 0.2 microns or less. That's the size of the holes of the filter that the material can pass. The last method we're going to look at is catching rainwater. There's lots of methods for actually catching it, from putting eaves all around your rooftop, to tarps with a drain and a hose in the middle, to putting pots outside. You should not drink rainwater on a regular basis. There are still some forms of bacteria and protozoa in rainwater. So after you catch it, you still need to filter it, the same as you do with lake or river water. Now we know how you're going to get the water, we have to talk about how to store your water. The answer to this is obviously tanks. I already spoke about how I feel about portable tanks, so we're going to talk about permanent tanks. Permanent tanks come in all shapes and sizes, rigid and flexible. Because water is one of the heaviest things you carry on board, it should absolutely be placed as close to the center of the bottom as possible. The other consideration is the size. The larger the tank, the longer you can go without refilling. But that also means the more space used for water, the less space that can be used for other stuff. Plus, water is very, very heavy, and unless you never go anywhere on your boat, it's a lot of weight to move around. I've once heard that you should figure out how much water you use in a week, and that's how much you should carry, but that is really vague. A lot should also depend on how easy it is for you to get the water in the first place. For example, if it's harder for you to get water, you should have a larger tank. If you use a desalinator and make your water every day, then you should only carry a day or two worth of water. Also, you will need to flush and clean your tanks on a regular basis, at the minimum of once a year. There are a lot of professional products to clean your tanks, but one method a lot of boaters use is just to use the same tablets people use to clean fake teeth. These are safe for your health and both plastic and metal plumbing. Plus, they kill germs. Just leave them in for 24 hours and flush again with clean water. Next, we have to talk about pumps, etc. Again, there's two basic ways of moving water on board, electric and manual. Most people who are new to being liveaboard usually will always want electricity, but electric means more initial cost, more electricity being used, and more water wasted. Plus, they require more maintenance down the road. This is not the way to go if you're attempting to be off-grid. I'm not saying electrical pumps are all bad. It definitely adds some convenience, but a well-designed foot pump in the kitchen and shower, I find, can be almost as good. Manual pumps require a lot less plumbing and are much easier to install and repair for the do-it-yourselfer. There are many styles of hand pumps, from the older style flip pump to the high-volume foot pump, and everything in between. My personal favorite is the foot pump. It leaves your hands free. It pumps water on both the up and down stroke and creates large volumes of water. They even work in the shower. Using them quickly becomes second nature. Okay, so electrical pumps. They do come in all sizes as well, from expensive systems with pressurized water that operates just like in a house, turn the tap and the water comes out, to a cheaper system that has a small pump and a small switch that turns the water on or off. The larger pressurized units should also have an accumulator tank to always make sure the water flows nice and smooth. The other thing we have to talk about is hot water. A lot of liveaboards, especially old salts, choose to live without this luxury. And if that's your choice, the one thing that will help is whenever you do boil some water, boil some extra and fill up a thermos. That way you won't have to do it as often. Built-in hot water systems that work just like house systems are a luxury most of us want. Rarely do you see the tank style on a small boat. Rather, you mostly see a form of tankless instant hot water systems. These can run on gas or electricity, and some have heat exchangers so it can take heat from an inboard engine. These are great, except for they cost more and require the engine to be hot before they can start producing hot water. In my own current little 18-foot liveaboard boat, I modified a simple camping hot water system. It just sits on the counter. I modified it so it ran on the ship's battery instead of its own rechargeable battery. I'll put a link to that at the end of this video. One more great add-on for a kitchen is the saltwater spigot. Even though they're called salt water, they take water from around the boat, so if you're on fresh water, then they just use fresh water. It's nice to have for washing, etc. It really saves on your clean water. Just remember to rinse with clean water afterwards. These are usually very, very simple. Basically, it's a hose that goes from a seacock, then goes to electric or hand pump, and to the spigot. That's it. I talked about heads or toilets in part 3 of this video series. I'll include a link to that in the description, so I won't be talking about that in this video. I will talk about shower plumbing. As I said in my earlier video, most showers use a combined shower faucet, so the plumbing is the same. Don't attempt to use a hand pump, it's just too awkward while showering. However, foot pumps work great. Okay, so now for shower gray water. That's the used water that comes out of a shower. Most commonly used is a shower sump, which is a box mounted below the shower that the shower water drains into, and then a bilge pump pumps the water overboard or into a gray water tank. Technically, you can just let the shower drain into the bilge and then pump it overboard, but you'd have to clean the bilge a lot. Shower water can quickly start to stink, plus bilge pumps only drain down to about 3/4 of an inch from the bottom, so you always have standing water sitting in your bilge. As for all your gray water, from sink or shower, whichever, I'm personally not aware of any areas that have made dumping your gray water overboard illegal, but you may not want to. For example, if you're in a marina, or if you don't believe dumping dirty water into your surroundings is just the right thing to do. I hope this video was helpful and gave you a general idea of what's involved in setting up your plumbing in a small liveaboard boat. I will include a link to the entire playlist in the description, and please, if you enjoyed it, then subscribe so you will know when each of the future videos is published. Thank you very much.